Well, for more on this, let's go to our A-team. Alayna, Treene, White House reporter for Axios, Chris Bedford, editor-in-chief of the Daily Caller News Foundation, and Leslie Marshall, progressive radio show host and Fox News contributor. And I guess we should begin with you, Leslie. Welcome to all of you.
Hey, good morning.
I think the whole thing here is, picking up on Kevin Cork's "Be careful what you wish for." Lindsey Graham said this, and it's good advice. Watch.
This will blow up in their face. This will blow up in their face. The conclusions can't change. There is no collusion. That's what the whole damn thing was about to begin with. There's nobody on earth could bring an obstruction case based on these facts. The president gave 1.4 million documents to Mueller. McCann, his lawyer, testified for 30 hours. He made everybody available to Mueller that Mueller wanted to talk to, and he submitted answered questions in writing. So this president did nothing to stop Mueller from finding the truth.
Yeah, and conservatives are saying, and they've said it for a long time, Leslie, that that Robert Mueller is not an exonerator. He's a prosecutor, and if he can't find enough evidence to prosecute, that's the end of the case. Well,
he also said that when he was at the podium, when he resigned, that any testimony beyond this basically isn't going to happen. And obviously, I'm paraphrasing with that. But if you look at 2013, when he testified before Congress and he, in a sense, called Gohmert from Texas a liar, and he's very strong, I don't think this is going to backfire on Democrats, as many are saying. Alan Dershowitz said that. I understand there are only certain things within the scope that he can answer. And there are questions that the Democrats want answers to. I don't know if they're going to get the answers, but you know what? It's their constitutional responsibility and oversight as a congressional entity to ask those questions, such as, why didn't you clear him from any criminal behavior? And why did you disagree with the Attorney General's comments after the report came out?
You mentioned constitutional law professor Alan Dershowitz. Chris, I'll bring you in on this. Here's what he wrote, published on FoxNews.com. The real victims of the Democratic attempt to politicize the criminal justice system are ordinary Americans. If House Democrats can demand that Mueller testify about his investigation, then any congressional committee can subpoena any prosecutor who declines to prosecute any ordinary American. This would establish a terrible precedent that would undercut the rule of law.
I kind of agree with everyone here, but I don't think anyone should be quite as excited as Republicans or the Democrats are about any of this. The chances that Mueller is going to say something that blows up in anyone's faces are extremely low. He's basically made that clear. But you can see in the New York Times today that this has the power to potentially reshape the political landscape. I don't know what they're talking about. You can hear the hope and the excitement, like they're throwing glitter bombs in the air over there. Nothing's really going to come out of this except for continuous overreach, as Dershowitz said, by Congress on where they stand on prosecution.
But we saw this, Alayna, when Robert Mueller spoke. The first time we saw it going back to the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, where the Democrats take away what they want to take away from it, and the Republicans take away what they want to take away from it. And I'm sure this is going to be the very same.
Exactly. I think it'll be more of a circus. And honestly, I think that Robert Mueller, and to everyone's point here, he did say that he doesn't plan to testify beyond the scope of his report. And I don't think that a lot of Democrats who issue these subpoenas asking him to come in and testify recognize that they won't learn anything new.
Hold on, wait, because that is a similar point that Chris just made.
Right.
I want to push back on that for a second, because go back to that moment. I don't think we have this teed up, so I'll just quote him. Robert Mueller, when he finally spoke publicly after the release of the Mueller report, he left the door open for a lot of speculation. Leslie, I see you agreeing with me. When he said, after that, I'm quoting him, after that investigation, if we had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so. We did not, however, make a determination as to whether the president did commit a crime. That was not the characterization of the report.
Republicans and Democrats got everyone riled up, and it seemed like he was throwing a bone to Democrats to say, all right, now the ball's in Congress's court. You should go ahead with investigations of the president.
But you can't say that didn't change things and change the moment.
I just don't expect too much more out of him. He's a very, very dry and disciplined and strict person. And I don't expect that the Democrats are going to get much more than they got in that press conference.
Well, if this is any taste of what's to come, Doug Collins, the ranking Republican on judiciary, joined us this morning and said this is what's coming up.
Where did he start? How did he assemble his team? Why did they assemble the team that they did? When did they decide that there was no collusion and there's no conspiracy being done? When did they decide to put part of the dossier and discuss it in the Mueller report and then not discuss other parts? Those are all questions now that he's either going to have to answer or he's going to have to sit there and try to avoid.
Well, I think, and just going off of that, I think the real thing here with Democrats and why they wanted Robert Mueller to come in is, like I was saying, I don't know if they expect to learn a lot new. I think they want it to be a TV spectacle. I think they want the American public to see him answering these questions, especially because I think, not even every member of Congress read the full Mueller report. Americans are not reading 400 pages of that report. They saw Attorney General Bill Barr's summary, but they didn't go into the details of what Robert Mueller wrote. And I think that's what a lot of Democrats are hoping, that this public testimony will help shed light on.
That seems like a losing battle. The American public is not going to get more interested now than they've been the entire time. And so far, it hasn't hit any home runs for the Democrats.
This isn't about home runs. This is not only about a response. This is not. No, it is not. I don't agree with that. This is not just about their responsibility. This is also not a responsibility to the American people. And you have to remember, yes, there are a majority of Democrats in the House, and yes, many in their constituency want these answers, but that's not just along political party lines. When Robert Mueller said the exact quote that Sandra just said, and thank you, because that's the quote you're going to hear a lot.
I'm not saying that speaks in favor of Democrats' argument of where they want this to go. I'm just saying he does have the ability to say something that could change the way American people see that report.
And that is what they're going to ask. They're going to specifically ask about that. Republicans are going to ask about the FISA warrant. Right. Because remember, they can. Democrats are going to be limited when it comes to grand jury testimony and some of the redacted material. But these are questions that many in the, not just Congress, but the American public have, which is, why did you leave that cliffhanger?
And on that note, we touched on this earlier in the intro, Trump talking about the spying. Here's one more soundbite of that on FBN just a short time ago. Watch.
Bob Mueller better be prepared, because I can tell you he will be cross-examined for the first time, and the American people will start to see the flaws in his report.
They spied on my campaign. It's as simple as that. It's so illegal. It's probably the biggest political scandal in history, and they got caught doing it. The Republicans get it. The Republicans have been totally unified. They get it fully. Lindsey Graham is beside himself. He looks at things that happened. He can't even believe what happened. He cannot believe it.
We got a bonus for you there, Chris. We got two sound bites coming out of it, but you kind of see the direction Republicans are going to go on that.
Yeah, and I think you should be watching Senator Lindsey Graham's committee on that in the Senate to try and figure out where the Republicans are going to go on their investigation of what seems to have been the last administration watching. They don't want to say spying. Very closely watching and surveilling the Trump campaign.
All right, a few weeks away from that, we will see. Thank you very much to our E-team this morning.
Everyone said I'll be tweeting. I'll actually be in a plane, and it just seems very boring, but I'm going to watch it because I have to. That's part of my life. It's part of my life. Do I want to watch it? Do I want to watch these people? That's a very unexciting group of people.
First Democratic primary debate begins tonight and continues tomorrow night, totaling 20 candidates and 5 moderators. So what can we expect to hear during round one? Let's bring back in the A-team, Alayna Treene, Chris Bedford, and Leslie Marshall. Alayna, everybody's got to be shooting for Joe Biden, right? Because Joe Biden can go nowhere but down. He's already leading by a bunch. He's got nowhere but to look down. And even though he's not in tonight's debate, we should know he's tomorrow night.
Right, but I do think we'll see a lot of people tonight, candidates tonight, trying to take on Joe Biden. But I think, honestly, this week there's so many candidates. It's going to be a lot of fighting for attention. And I think that depending on who really does a good job, we could see a new front runner this week, or at least going, someone who's at least going head to head with Joe Biden. But again, I think the more important thing from talking with a lot of Dem strategists, they say that, rather than focusing on Biden, they should be at, okay, how can I show that I can take on President Trump in a general election? So I'm interested to see how candidates.
Well, surely that's that. Joe Biden.
Biden is a lost soul. He doesn't know where he is, I don't think. He's changing his views rapidly. He didn't get anything compared to what we did. My speech last week, they took in, I think, $28 million. He does seem to be different.
You've done a great job. A lost soul, Leslie, said the president.
Well, I find it interesting because if President Trump were along with 19 other people, would he get that much money? Because right now the money is spread out among 25, even though we're going to see 20 Democrats. So, no, he's not a lost soul. And that's how people speak about their competitors, right? Because that's who he's looking at as a competitor. I want to quote Congressman Tim Ryan because I thought his line was hysterical. This is speed dating with the American people. And that's really what it's coming down to. You have 2 minutes case, to defend yourself, attack Trump, attack the other opponents, state your case, and outline specific policy, can't happen. So what's going to happen is that the American people are going to see some people they've never seen before, don't even know, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on two people especially. Tonight, Elizabeth Warren, because she's the only one in the top 3 or 4, depending on what poll you read and when you read it, and she is either going to hold on to her numbers or she's going to sink. And I think she has a problem with this because she's not good at just like zingers. She's good at outlining policy. And then tomorrow night, obviously, Biden. Can he do as well as he did years ago when he was VP, debating Paul Ryan one-on-one with a field so large?
But Chris, it's not just do or die for Elizabeth Warren. There's a lot of people in this field who have got to really perform in the next couple of nights, or
I remember
adios.
Scott Walker was in second place when they had the first Republican debate in 2015, and he dropped like a rock after that. Now, Karl Rove was earlier saying that he doesn't remember a lot of knockout moments or big things from the primary debates, but I thought there were a lot of knockout moments. That would be news to Jeb Bush. And if you were in one of these major campaigns, Jeb Bush may be similar to Biden in that regard with the amount of money he has and the amount of backing he has. All of his supporters were really excited for him to take down big, mean Donald Trump. And we didn't see that happen at all. Instead, Trump basically dominated the stage that was completely filled with people. And so that we do have an opportunity for a really exciting...
Or the zinger, Carly Fiorina. I mean, Carly Fiorina, when Donald Trump talked about her face, and she came back and she talked about how women would react to that, respond to that, I thought, whoa, put one in her column.
So based on that, Chris, 2 nights, 10 candidates each night, who does this benefit the most?
Maybe Mayor Pete. Some of the guys who are out there who have been talked about. I mean, these are one of these candidates that are largely media invented, and they're getting a lot of press and a lot of stories, a lot of profiles. But now they're going to see them on the stage and see how well they actually do.
Yeah,
I think I would agree with that. I think that a lot of people who are experts in debate say, just try to stay away from the viral moments. And that is a lot of what produced someone like Mayor Pete or Beto O'Rourke. So to see them on the stage getting into the policy, I think it'll be really interesting to watch if they can get into the meat of that.
Enter the moderators, 5 different moderators. Certainly some different personalities going to mix things up when it comes to the questions that are asked of these candidates tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a difficult thing to wrangle all of this for these moderators. I don't envy trying to get this stage with this many people and this many personalities to all come out and say what they actually believe in and keep control of that room.
Here's what the Wall Street Journal editorial board says to watch for starting tonight, the Democratic opportunity. It writes, worth watching is who, if anyone, is willing to take on the left's most extreme ideas, who will dare to call Medicare for All and the Green New Deal unaffordable and economically damaging, and will anyone challenge the excesses of identity politics and the Democratic habit of denigrating Donald Trump's voters as deplorables or worse?
Well, there's a couple of things there. I do think that you may not see people attack the Green Deal and Medicare for All, and this is actually going to be problematic for any Democrat because, with Democrats, they need to move left, but in the general, they need to stay centered, and I think that's what we saw with the Hyde Amendment and Joe Biden, and he did a reversal, and I think you're going to see another reversal in the future if he's the candidate.
How much talk about socialism on that
But Sanders
stage, too.
and his cost for his student debt plan, which is similar to Elizabeth Warren's, but almost twice the cost, he's going to get attacked by Democrats for that.
Alayna?
Well, I think that in addition to the socialism aspect, I think that this is the problem that we're going to see. How can you capture the left, the activist base, the energy that's driving a lot of the Democratic Party, but then also be a candidate that will be able to take on Trump in a general election.
Yeah. Alayna, Chris, Leslie, good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.